Hey, good morning, fourth graders. Happy Friday, Friday, April 3rd. And today's lesson is just going to be a review one. This is our flex day. I know I gave you one on Wednesday too, but we've been working hard and we had almost 2 full weeks of lessons up there. So this is not something that you have. This page is not something that you have at home. This is a Homelink. So you're going to need some scratch paper, and we're going to work through them together. But you're going to have to do some of the writing. I'll read through them and we'll go over them. But the work you're going to have to do on a piece of scratch paper. You will need your math journal. After we're done with this, we're going to do a problem or two off of page 246 in your math journal. So this is a Homelink though. We're going to start with this. This is the multiplying mixed numbers by a whole number. So there's 2 problems, I believe. And we will do one each of the 2 ways that I taught you. So this one says, Michelle's grandmother sent her 5 small gifts for her 5th birthday. Each one weighed 1 1/2 pounds. How much did the gifts weigh altogether? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to write our number model with unknown. 5 small gifts, 1 1/2 pounds. I'm going to move it up now so that we have room. We have 5 gifts times, what's our mixed number? 1 1/2, and you can pick whatever unknown you want. I'm going to pick W. I'd pick W for weight. Now, we also know that you could take this 5, and you could write it as 5 over 1. That's another option. So, on this one, what I think that we'll do is we're going to do this in the 2 steps where we take the whole number times whole number times fraction. This is usually the one that we do twice. But so the first thing that we need to do, I'm going to put mine back as a 5, is take whole number times whole number. So that would be like doing 5 times 1. Now we're also going to do 5, but in this time I'm going to write it as a fraction because I have to take 5 times 1/2. And if I'm multiplying my whole number times a fraction, it might be easier just to have it as a fraction. 5 times 1/2 equals and equals. We have to solve both of those. So go ahead, hit pause, solve both of those. When you have it, hit play. 5 times 1 is 5. Over here, we're going to have a fraction. The denominator is going to be 1 times 2, so that's going to be 2. 5 times 1 is 5. Okay, well, we wouldn't say that we have 5 5/2 pounds. So we know that we need to take this improper fraction and we need to divide it to get it back into a mixed number. So that's going to be doing 5 divided by 2. I'd like you to pause the video and solve 5 divided by 2. When you think you have the answer, hit play and then you can check. Okay? If you see you made a mistake, pause it and try and redo it. Because here's how you would do it. You'd be thinking, what times 2 gets you close to 5 without going over? 2 2s. 2 2s. 2 times 2 is 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. Okay, so when we write our answer for this, your whole number is right here, 2. So 5/2 equals 2, your numerator is 1, and your denominator is 2. 2 and 1/2. So 5/2 is equal to 2 and 2/2. To show you that as a picture, 1/2, 2/2, 3/2, 4/2, 5/2. We'd have to color in all of that, and half that. 2 wholes, 1/2. So now the last step is to combine 5 and 2 and 1/2. That's just adding. 5 plus 2 is 7, and then you have your 1/2. When we do the between what 2 whole numbers, what you have to think about is it's bigger than 7. Your whole number that you have is the first number you're putting down. Then it's just like counting. What comes after 7? 8. And the reason for that is 7.5 on a number line is bigger than 7, but it's not 8 yet. It needs another half. If you can picture 7 apples, you have 7 apples, and then if I cut another apple in half and I eat that other half, you would have 7.5 apples. It's not 8 yet. We're going to skip the switching it to ounces today in an effort to keep things moving along. So now, we come to this one. This one we're going to do the other way. Rochelle bought 4 pieces of ribbon to finish a project. Each piece was 1 5/12 yards. What is, I'm sure it says what here, yep, what is the combined length of the ribbon she bought? This one, we're going to do the other way. This is the way that I prefer, and the reason why I prefer to do it this way is, eventually at some point, this is going to be a bigger number, and or this could be a bigger number, and you're going to have to do a big division problem anyway. To me, this just makes more sense, but maybe the other way makes more sense to you. Whatever works best for you is kind of what you should focus on. So, our number model with unknown is going to be 4 times 1 5/12. I'm going to move it up just so that we have more room to work in here. So, 4 times 1 5/12. And we're going for, I believe it was yards, so what's the combined length? So I might use the letter Y for my unknown. You can use whatever you want. We've talked about that. So what we need to do is change this back into an improper fraction. We know that when we get to our actual answer, we don't want to have an improper fraction, but if we make this an improper fraction, then we can just multiply the whole thing at one time, rather than doing 2 multiplication problems. So I'm going to put 4 as a fraction because I know my end result, I want fractions right now. And I'm going to multiply it by, it's going to be another fraction. Now, what we know before we do anything is that the denominator is not going to change. It's going to be 12. So what we want to do here is we want to take the whole number and multiply it by the denominator, then add our numerator. Okay? So, what we're doing here is we're going 1 times 12. 1 times 12 is 12. Then add 5. Whole number times denominator plus numerator. 1 times 12, 12 plus 5. 12 plus 5 is 17. Why that works is, remember this one whole is equivalent to 12 twelfths, and we have 5 twelfths here, so 12 twelfths plus 5 twelfths is 17 twelfths. Now it's multiplying. And I know that for some of you, initially you get this shock of, well, what's 4 times 17? It's not that bad. It's really just 2 pretty easy multiplication problems in our head. 1 times 12 is 12. We're going to have the same denominator. Now here's what I do. Rather than think about 4 times 17, I think about 4 times 10 and 4 times 7. 4 times 10. Go ahead and solve that. Do 4 times 10, 4 times 7, add them together. When you think you have it, hit play. Okay, 4 times 10 is 40. Now notice, I write it down, and I'm the teacher. I write it down because then I don't have to remember it. It's there for me. It takes some of the work out of that. Doing it in your head, I know that some of you may be able to do that, but just writing down that step can be helpful. 4 times 7. If you can't do 4 times 7, do 2 times 7 and double it. Because 2 is half of 4, so 2 times 7, then you'd have to double it to make it 4 times 7. 2 times 7 is 14. Double that is 28. Now you have to add that. 0 and 8 is 8, 4 and 2 is 6, so this ends up being 68/12. Now, I took a long time kind of explaining that because I was breaking down kind of my process and how I work through it. Obviously, you may be able to do it a little quicker. We've got this improper fraction. We can't leave it as 68/12. We have to divide 68 by 12. And this could be a little problematic because if you don't know your 12's facts, it's going to be a little difficult. But what I've always told you to do is use what you know. And I know that I can't do 10/12s because 12 times 10 is 120. Well, one thing that I've kind of talked to you about is that if you can do, oh, that's not right, I'm not doing 6's. If I'm doing 12 times 10 and I can do that problem, I can also figure out what 12 times 5 is, because 5 is half of 10. If I have 10 12s, I have 120. And if I cut this number in half, then my answer is also going to get cut in half. So 12 times 5 is really just half of 120. Don't think of it as half of 120. What's half of 12? 6. Then add your 0. So 12 times 5 is 60. Using what you know. 8 minus 0 is 8. 6 minus 6 is 0. When your remainder is smaller than your divisor, you're done. I'm going to use red to write the answer up there because of the blue. But your whole number would be 5. Your numerator is 8. And your denominator is 12. Now, if you didn't know that, you could have used 2 and done 24. That would have given you 4 here, 4 here. Oh, I can do another 24. 0, 2. Oh, one more 12 can go into 20. And you still would have gotten 5 and 8/12. The process, if you did more steps, that's okay. It's not a big deal. The main thing is that you get to the 5 and 8/12. So the answer would be 5 and 8/12. See if you can figure out between which two numbers it is. Hit pause, hit play when you're ready to get the answer. Okay. First one is your whole number that you have. It's bigger than 5. But it's smaller than 6. Alright, so that was a math box. That one you had to work on scratch paper, or not a math box, that was a Homelink that you didn't have. You should have been working with me on some scratch paper. This one is page 246 in your math journal. We're going to skip the estimates, again, just in an effort to keep things moving along. So this one says, Jeremiah and Jeff, I know that looks weird, but that name is Jeff, it's not Geoff. They're raising money for the art club. I guess maybe it could be Geoff, I don't know. I don't know what the author's purpose was. Jeremiah raised $117 selling 9 raffle tickets. Jeff raised $144 selling 8 fruit baskets. Which cost more, a raffle ticket or a fruit basket, and how much? So, when we're doing this, we have 2 division problems that we need to do here. The first one, I'm just going to write them down here so that we can see them and then I'll move them up. The first one is Jeremiah, and his was 117 divided by 9, and the other one was 144 divided by 8. So what we need to do is first do 2 division problems and figure out which of these 2 is or costs more so that we can do our subtraction. So what you should do is 117 divided by 9 and 144 divided by 8. And what you should do right now is try and work through this one, get your answer, with me on pause, and then hit play and see how you did. Then do this one, do the same thing, and I'll work through them, but then you can check your work, but you're actually doing the work here. So here's what I know when I do 9, or 117 divided by 9, is that I can do 10 nines. 9 times 10 is 90. And 7 minus 0 is 7. 11 minus 9 is 2. So now what I need to be thinking is, how many 9s can go into 27? This is 27 divided by 9 now. How many 9s can go into 27? And if you didn't know, use something that you know is smaller than that. Just keep working your way down. But what I know is that it's 3 9s. 9 times 3 is 27. I'm going to subtract. 27 minus 27 is 0. So your answer for this one should have been $13. Cost $13 for that. Now over here, do this problem if you haven't already. But here's how I would solve this one. If you haven't solved it, pause it and do it. Okay, I know that 1 8 can go into 14, so that means 10. 8 times 10 is 80. 4 minus 0 is 4. 14 minus 8 is 6. Okay, now, you might have done a different step. You might have gone 5 here and gone 8 times 5 is 40. But I know that 8 times 8 fell on the floor, I pick it up, 64. 8 times 8 is 64. So your answer that you should have gotten, and you might have different steps, you should have gotten 18. So now here's what I know. I know that this one is 18, and I know that this one is 13. So I know this one's bigger, because we haven't written our number model with unknown yet. I'm going to erase this work. Hopefully you have that. But when I scroll up here and get my equation with unknown, okay, let's take a look at what they got here. So the 144 were the fruit baskets, and this was the raffle tickets. So in here, the fruit baskets were more expensive. We found that out, so this should be fruit baskets. We haven't figured out how much more yet, but that's just taking 18 and subtracting 13. Go ahead and do that, the answer will go right there. And the answer should be 5. And they should be 5 more than the raffle tickets. Make sure you have that down, because then I'm gonna move this. Well, actually, I guess I don't need to. Writing our number model with unknown, we're gonna have to use some parentheses here, but we got to start with this because this is the bigger solution. 18 is a bigger solution than 13. So we need to lead with that, and we're going to have to put it in parentheses. So this should be 144. Oh, that's terrible. That's that spot in that smartboard that doesn't work very well. This should be 144 divided by 8. And then what did we do when we were done doing this? We subtracted. Now we got to put this 117 divided by 9, because we know that this is going to be 18, this is going to be 13. 18 minus 13 equal, and then they want an unknown. So that's the process, but your unknown could be whatever letter you want. I'm going to use M for 1. Alright, so that's really all I got for you today. If you feel like you want to do some more, I know that there is another problem on 246 that we did not get to, but this is all that I'm requiring today. So no math box assignments, and we'll have a new lesson up for you on Monday. Have a great weekend.